Let's get into WrestleMania. We got a lot to talk about here. 7 matches on each night. Of course, we'll begin with night 1, live from Tampa on Saturday, April 10th. We'll start with, let's see here, Cesaro and Seth Rollins. I don't want to start with a match I don't really care too much about. I'll start with one I do care about. Rollins and Cesaro, the build's been well done. Cesaro is really coming to his own as a single star. Not that we didn't think he could do it, but they've never really portrayed him as an important character on the show up until recently. He beat Bryan twice, had a great showing in the Elimination Chamber, and now he's getting his first ever singles match at WrestleMania. It's a great spot for Rollins to be in too, because it's not like this multi-man mess that we see for like the mid-card titles of Mania, so it's a meaningful match for him to be in. Cesaro has brought it. Cesaro has gotten the better of Rollins more often than not, so that makes me think there's a slight chance Rollins wins, but I'm going to stick with Cesaro here because I feel like he gains way more from this win than Rollins would.
I agree. I mean, Rollins is one of those few guys that's made at this point, so him losing like 100 matches won't do anything to his career at this point. So him losing this match, it'll do more for Cesaro than him. Him winning doesn't do real much for him. I mean, it's just another win. It's nothing crazy. Cesaro, I feel like this could be a big push for him, and that could actually elevate him to the title picture, and he can... I don't think he'll win, but if Roman retains, they could do him and Cesaro down the line, which I think could be good. So I think Cesaro winning makes the most sense. Like we always say, people like Rollins, it's kind of like Roman Reigns, John Cena, Daniel Bryan. I mean, they can lose matches and it won't affect them. So this is bigger for Cesaro. I would have Cesaro go over here.
Do you put Cesaro in the Universal Championship picture coming out of this?
Depending on if Roman retains, I would.
I think that's the perfect spot for him. I mean, you can capitalize off the momentum that he has from this victory, hopefully, if he does indeed win. I feel like if Rollins wins, I don't know really where you go from there, unless Bryan becomes the champion and you do Rollins-Bryan, which would be awesome, but I don't know. I would go with Cesaro. They're really building up a great core of characters on SmackDown between Cesaro, Rollins, Roman's Edge, Reigns, Edge, and Bryan as well, among other people, so I'm hoping for a Cesaro victory here. We'll get some of the undercard matches out of the way. Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon, among the worst WrestleMania builds I have ever seen. The idea that, a steel cage is going to prevent Shane from escaping is ridiculously dumb. Clearly he didn't watch the steel cage match Shane had with The Miz 2 years ago at Money in the Bank. Not WrestleMania, which Shane also won, by the way, but that solidified Miz as a loser. When he lost to Shane in a fucking steel cage match, he got out anyway. There's still interference, obviously. I feel like steel cage matches, and we've talked about this a million times, really interferes, or rather involves, interference more than it does take away from it. Like, it doesn't really prevent interference, and more so welcomes it, if anything. A match I just really don't care about, but I feel like it has to be a Braun win. Otherwise, to go from beating Goldberg one year to losing Shane to the next would be one of the worst downfalls in WWE history.
Yeah, I mean, Braun needs a win here. The whole build-up has been terrible. I feel like they had a made story, and they just went, like, the WWE dumb logic. Like, they could have just said, like, Shane could have been like, I didn't include you in the championship match because you never won the WWE championship. Like, they should have went off that. They should have had some reason Shane had some vendetta against Braun. But that's why he wasn't in the match leading the TLC. And then when he came back, that's why he didn't get, like, a good opportunity. They should have just used that instead of, Braun's dumb. Like, that's just stupid. And he calls him stupid. But, like, the whole build is so dumb. Like, Braun, I was bullied as a kid. I'm not going to let Shane McMahon bully me. It's like, who cares? Like, if you really wanted to, you could whip Shane McMahon any day of the week. Like, it's stupid. And like you said, the whole steel cage kind of stipulation, it more invites the interference now than ever before. It's just like, Elias and Jackson Riker are going to get involved somehow, which is just stupid. Like, if anything, the steel cage it should have been like steel cage would bar everyone from interfering. I don't know. I just feel like interference in wrestling is just so overdone at this point. It's just over the top now. So Braun needs to win. I mean, if he loses to Shane, it doesn't really matter if he won like at like Extreme Rules or another baby. Like, WrestleMania is what people remember. So Braun's gonna win. Have him win here, but this is, like you said, probably one of the worst builds to a WrestleMania match. And I couldn't tell you one that I could think of at the top of my head that's somewhat prominent that was built even worse than this. No pun intended, it's just stupid.
What's worse, this or Edge and Booker T feuding over a shampoo commercial?
What WrestleMania was that?
18, actually.
I mean, that's pretty stupid too. But I don't know. I don't remember the build on Raw if it had any. I just remember Shane going boop 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 and then making Braun look like an idiot. So it is what it is. But I don't know. I just hate. I like Shane McMahon too. I just hate how they make him Superman. Like he already beat Braun's ass. Like how? He's like an old white guy. It just makes those. Give him like superhero powers, and he's just fucking Shane McMahon.
I mean, I suspended my disbelief after it took Taker 30 minutes to beat this guy 5 years ago at WrestleMania 32. That was really just it for me. And that was his first match back, and I love Shane, but the way they use him sometimes is ridiculous. And I know he's had backup with Elias and Riker, but they're complete losers too. If Braun can beat them in 2 minutes in a handicap match, what's stopping Braun from beating Shane in 30 seconds on Saturday? Like, realistically, that's how long this match should be. But I feel like no one really comes away from this thing a winner. Oh, Braun beat Shane. Who gives a shit? Like, it's not going to be Braun and Drew or Braun and Bobby. He's already lost to both of those guys. So who really cares? If Shane wins, Braun's even further down into the dirt. This whole thing just sucks. But it's been inconsistent, too, like you said, because they were kind of playing off the whole, oh, like, you didn't put me in the chamber. But, like, he had a legit reason to. He was only going with former WWE champions. You're not a fucking former WWE champion. Like, Braun was supposed to be the heel there, but they flipped the dynamic. It's like, oh my god, who cares? I feel like Braun, with Big Show now gone, he's like the new Big Show with all the turns he's been doing lately.
Oh god, I mean...
That's not a good spot to be in either.
Yeah, that's a terrible spot to be in, but yeah, I mean... Here's what it is. I just think that, like you said, they had a story there that they could have built off of, and then instead they went the dumber route, which is normally what they do. So
hey.
I don't have any expectations. The match will probably be whatever. It's probably going to be like a glorified Raw match. So yeah. I'm not too thrilled for it.
Hey, you got to bring up Braun's 5th grade report card.
So dumb.
Shit is putrid. Shit is dumb. I'm not sure what was worse between that, and we talked about this last week, but I'm not sure what's worse between that and the New Day's game show they did with AJ and Omos last week on Raw, which was absolutely terrible. I like the New Day. I like AJ. The jury's still out on Omos in the ring, obviously. But again, I feel like they're resting on their laurels here with the hook being, oh, how's Omos going to do in the ring, blah, blah, blah. The match itself probably won't be anything special. It's a complete waste of AJ Styles. The build has sucked. And the New Day are the champions. The New Day randomly won the championships a month ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. AJ and Omos have lost every match, or specifically AJ, that he's had since the feud started. He lost to Kofi. He lost to Xavier last week by DQ or countout. And he lost to Xavier in a minute and a half on Monday. This is a former 2-time WWE champion. So the feud has sucked. The tag team division right now is the drizzling shits. Even if AJ and Omos win, it is far from the saving grace that this Raw tag team division needs right now.
Yeah, I mean, the tag team division on both shows is putrid, like you said. But this is kind of a waste of AJ. They have made him look pretty weak over the last couple weeks, losing multiple times. I mean, like you said, the hook is, is Omos going to be good? Like, who gives a shit? The guy's fucking 7'3", and like he's just gonna. I guarantee he's clunky as hell. I mean, even if he's not, I just don't care. It's just the New Day at this point. I like the New Day, but I feel like they've just overcome they've overstayed their welcome. It's just like I feel it's like the same shit every night. So I think they'll be fine of a match, but AJ should be wrestling something way more important than this, and I don't really care about Omos's debut.
I mean, even if the heels lose and it leads to a Styles-Omos split, where do you go off of that? Because this guy can, I assume, barely wrestle for shit, which is why he was positioned as a bodyguard to begin with. Hey, maybe he surprises me and goes in there and has a better in-ring debut than fucking Ronda Rousey 3 years ago. I'm not banking on it, but, maybe the guy will turn some heads. I'm not expecting it. The match should be fine. I think the heels are going to win. Is that your prediction as well?
Oh, yeah, I think we got new champions.
I think we got new champions, and literally nothing will change. Speaking of tag team matches, we got Bad Bunny and Damian Priest against Miz and Morrison. Thank God they changed this to a tag team match as of Monday's Raw. I assume the case was that, because otherwise why wouldn't you have done this in the first place? I assume either Priest or Morrison or both were injured and they had to be cleared in order to make the match official, which they did, which is nice. I was going to say if it was Miz and Bunny one-on-one, Miz has got to win. I mean, I know he lost the WWE Championship in 8 days. He's booked like a loser, but he's not that big of he's not Heath Slater. Like, he should not be losing to a celebrity at WrestleMania, considering 10 years ago, almost exactly, he beat John Cena in the main event of WrestleMania 27. So, at 37, I would say he's going to win too, but It's a tag team match. Priest is in there now. I feel like Priest would benefit more from this victory than Miz and Morrison would at this point.
Yeah, I mean, even if it was one-on-one, I think Bad Bunny would have won. But, yeah, I think now that they had Priest, they're not going to have him lose just right away. And with the celebrity, I mean, Morrison and Miz don't really mean much, even though, yes, Miz was just champion. But, I mean, the guy won it for like 8 days, and he's been a joke. He was a joke before he won it. He's just been a joke since. So, I mean, him winning, I just don't really see what you do from there. So, Bad Bunny winning. I mean, the celebrities usually always win. So, I think Bad Bunny and Damian Priest is pretty much a lock. I will say, though, you were talking about on hashtag your favorite women's matches. You forgot WrestleMania 27 Snooki and Morrison. You forgot that match.
I'm going to say this. I will say this. I wrote an article, I think it was earlier this week, about best celebrity matches in Mania history. And I put that one on there. There hasn't been many. But I will say, she did better than I thought she would. I think I just had an irrational anger towards that match initially because I hated Jersey Shore. I just thought the show was shit. But I will say this, though. She gave it a good effort. I've seen interviews that she's done about that match. She actually went on Twitter like a day or two ago calling it like a dream come true to compete at WrestleMania. She is a genuine fan. And that was back when she even said herself that she wasn't in the greatest shape. She's in awesome shape now. She wants to come back and do another match. I don't think WWE would do it just because she's not really relevant anymore, I don't think. But I'm not going to shit on that match as much as I used to. But I won't say it's my favorite just because I wouldn't go back and watch it. But I don't think she really did that terrible of a job in retrospect.
I mean, I thought she, for her case, it's not like she's an athlete or.
She was actually. She used to be a gymnast or something, I think.
Yeah,
or a cheerleader.
She was more known for the show than her being like she's a professional athlete. Like, you wouldn't really assume that. Like, I thought she had a good performance for what you think she would do. So it is what it is. I mean, Bad Bunny. I mean, he seems like a pretty athletic guy. I mean, he's a musician. I mean, I'm assuming he has some kind of athletic background. But I mean, I think he'll turn some heads. I think.
I mean, he jumped off the top rope back at the Rumble and seemed to be, he fared pretty well. So I think he'll do. I think he'll do well. Bonus question: what is your favorite women's match in WrestleMania history?
That's a good question.
Is it Trish and Mickey at 22?
I'd probably say, I mean, biased, I would say Becky winning is probably my favorite, but I would probably say the best is probably Trish and Mickey probably.
Wow, I'm surprised you said the Becky match. I would say that more as a moment than as a match.
Yeah, I mean, I think you understood the match. You're like, I think it just didn't live to the bill. I still think it was a good match.
No, it was a good match. It wasn't bad. I think people they don't really, it's not rightfully praised, or they unrightfully poop on it, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't a bad match. If it took place earlier on in the show and it wasn't at 12:30 that it ended and the finish was better booked, I feel like people would remember that match a little bit better because it was a very good match.
Oh, actually, what I say? What was my? Mickey. No, Trish and Mickey was good, but Stacy and Miss Jackie versus Tori and Sable from WrestleMania 20 was my favorite.
Garbage. I thought you were going to say the Playboy Lumberjill.
Favorite match, sorry. It slipped my mind.
Fucking trash. I thought you were going to say the Playboy tag team match from WrestleMania 24 with like Maria and Melina and Beth or whoever the hell it was, and Maria made out with Snoop Dogg afterward. That was garbage too.
Yeah, I don't even remember that one. I just remember the Playboy Bunny. There was a Playboy pillow fight. That's what it was.
Oh, I remember. Trash.
If only they had Dawn Marie in it as well. Would have been. I actually, Jackie was good too, so I'm fine with Jackie being there. But no, that was my favorite women's match. I totally slipped my mind.
We'll use that to pivot to the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Turmoil match that was also announced on Monday's Raw. Winners getting a WWE Women's Tag Team title match on night 2. So it's cool how they're doing the double duty thing. They did it with TakeOver. They're doing it here. They do it at Wrestle Kingdom a lot. So I think it's cool they're doing it here as well. So the teams consist of Lana, Naomi, Dana Brooke, and Mandy Rose, the Riot Squad, and Natalya and Tamina. Now, Carmella and Billie have teased teaming in the last week or two. Billie Kay was involved in that segment on Raw, so maybe they'll get thrown in there as well. Of these 4 teams, I mean, I guess if they're in there and they're not advertised, maybe they'll win. I could see that happening. Otherwise, I think all of these teams have already lost to the champions aside from Natalya and Tamina. Natalya and Tamina versus Shayna and Nia would be the fucking cure for insomnia on night 2. So I hope that's not the match. Of these 4 teams, I would say the Riot Squad, but I think if Carmella and Billie get involved, then I think they'll win the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't care. I'm sorry, I just don't care. I mean, I think I remember like didn't like Naomi just beat like Shayna or Nia on Raw
Yeah,
like long,
in a minute or something, yeah.
but like I said, I feel like we've seen that match already. I don't know. It does, realistically, just like the men's. I mean, tag team division is what it is. I mean, if they had like a surprise, did like Bailey with like someone maybe like Becky or someone like. If they did like a surprise, I'd rather have them win, just make it seem more interesting, even though the tag belts mean nothing. But if we're gonna pick someone that's in there, I'd probably say the Riot Squad. I mean, I don't even have they faced Nia and Shayna. They might have.
September. It was back when Nia and Shayna first became champions and they lost.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna pick out of that, I guess you do Riot Squad. But if they did like a makeshift team with like Bailey and like Becky or something, or Bailey or someone that's more interesting than the people that are in the match now, then I think that'd be better. But if we're sticking with who's in the match announced, I guess I'll go with the Riot Squad. But regardless, the belts mean as much as the one around my waist right now.
I don't think Bayley's going to wrestle on the show, but do you think we could see like a Ding Dong Hello segment with a Becky appearance? I don't think she's going to return, but I think a cameo would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, anything's better than not having her on the show. I'm actually pretty surprised. Well, that's the issue. It's like, besides like the SmackDown Women's title, like there really isn't much prominent things going on SmackDown. Like basically, so it's either she's in the title match or she's in the tag team match, and she doesn't have a partner. So it is what it is. But I think that segment would be better than her being in the tag team match anyway. So that's what I would do. That'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. Top two matches. Speaking of the SmackDown Women's title match here, which match main events, Banks and Belair or Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre?
Bobby and Drew.
Okay, there's been a lot of talk about it today on Twitter because I know Sasha said in an interview like in the last day that she was living her dream by main eventing WrestleMania. I think I've talked about this before. I think ideally, yes, you do want Sasha and Belair in the main event. I think if they did main event, I wouldn't complain, but it just hasn't been built up as the main event. I'm honestly more excited for that match than I am Bobby and Drew, and I think Bobby and Drew is going to be great, but that feels like more of a main event. It's been the focal point on Raw. It's closed way more shows. Bianca and Banks have never closed the SmackDown. They've only really started to get going with their feud. And honestly, we'll start with Sasha and Bianca. I said this on hashtag. I think Sasha's going to win. I feel like we're getting all these title changes. I think Sasha's going to retain. Everyone's picking Bianca. Bianca can win another time. I don't really feel like this is a case where Bianca absolutely has to win. So I'm going to say Sasha Banks retains.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bobby and, like you said, Bobby and Drew's definitely been the biggest program on Raw. I mean, I think it should main event. Sasha, the build for Sasha and Bianca's just been weird. I mean, I think if built correctly, it could have been the main event for one of the nights, but I just feel like they were just like friends, and they're like, nah, and then Sasha's a bitch. It's just like, okay, but I just don't think it's really been built. I think there's more to the story than it being a main event. I feel like they could drag it on a little bit. That's why Sasha could win here. I mean, I would have Bianca win. I don't know. I just think it's one of those things you just, like, she could win at Money in the Bank, but it comes back to the end of the day. It's just like you can win at one of those random shows that just no one will ever remember. So, unless you're GSM, but I would have Bianca win. I mean, everyone's like, oh, Sasha's got to win. She hasn't won at WrestleMania. Okay, who cares? I mean, she'll eventually win. I think the moment right now is bigger. You could have her. I would have Bianca win here. I just think more people. It's just she's hot right now. It'd make more sense. It's a bigger stage. I would just have Bianca win here, but they keep it going and then she wins it down the line. I guess that's fine. But like I said, I just feel like most people remember what happens at WrestleMania. The next couple months, it kind of can be a blur sometimes.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I don't know. I just feel like they've cooled her off with the bank spell just by not her herself, but with how they've portrayed this match. I just feel like they might try to reheat her up again and give her the win at SummerSlam. So I think Sasha's going to win. I wouldn't be mad if Bianca loses. She's already lost before. Sasha's never won a WrestleMania, so I'm fine with her winning here, and Bianca can always win the belt. I'm not talking about like on SmackDown on Tuesday or on Friday or whatever, but like at a meaningful pay-per-view, she has to kind of rebuild herself back up and then, win it again. So I think Sasha's going to win. Main event, what we assume is going to be the main event. Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, WWE Championship rematch from Backlash last June, actually. Bobby's been the unbeatable champion, but they broke up the Hurt Business. It seems like they're setting the stage for Drew to win the belt back here, and I feel like that's the biggest reason why this match is happening and why Bobby's the champion and not Drew, is because they wanted to give Drew his moment that he was robbed of last year. I love Drew. I just think it's Bobby's time right now and to give the belt right back to Drew. And I know either way, there's not a lot of challenges for either champion. So if that's what we're talking about, it doesn't really matter because it cancels each other out. But I think of the two, Bobby should retain. I just feel like he's got a lot of momentum right now, and to take the championship off of him within a month would be a mistake, but I think Drew's my pick.
No, I think it's Drew, LOL. I mean, I do think Bobby should be champion longer than he's gonna be, but I don't even think it's just to give Drew his moment. I just think Drew, not that he even deserves. I don't know. I just think he's the guy. Like, he's the guy on Raw. So I mean, you could have Bobby win here. I don't think it's like, what do you do after that? So I think that's more. I don't know. And just like them breaking up the Hurt Business, I don't know, it just sounds like it's like they're like drawing it out that Bobby's gonna lose. Like, they're just kind of like, now that he doesn't have the Hurt Business, they can just use that as like, oh, like he didn't have the backup anymore, so that's why he lost. I don't know, but I would have Drew in here. I like Bobby, but I don't know. I not even that it's his moment. I just think Drew is the better choice. Like, at this point, I don't even think he should have dropped it to Randy for that 1 month that he did. That was kind of just a waste of time. And then him losing again to The Miz, I mean, I guess that gets the briefcase off him. But, I mean, I would have just had... Honestly, you should just kept it on Drew the whole year and then had him lose to Bobby at WrestleMania if they're going to have Bobby be champion. But they clearly want him to be champion, get his moment. But, I mean, imagine if Drew was champion all year, they have Miz cash in, he doesn't win because there's no reason for him to win. He dropped it in a fucking week. Basically, him winning it was just so Bobby could take it off him. But I would have just had Drew be champion all year and then have him lose to Bobby. But this is the cards that were dealt, and I think Bobby's going to lose the belt on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's just the circumstances. Roman, or I feel like Drew is finding himself in a Roman Reigns position where, I mean, Drew was a little worse. I mean, Roman was a little worse in that he won the championship. Remember from 2015 to 2016, he won the title like 3 times in the span of like 4 months. In the span of like 4 months. Drew was approaching that as well, having won it last year, again in November, and now again at WrestleMania. I don't want people to get sick of him. People already are sick of him. I don't want him to reach that point. I would rather him have long title defenses than win it back and forth 3 or 4 times in the span of like a year. I don't want WWE to burn him out as a main eventer really quickly. So and reach John Cena, Roman Reigns territory. Although being in that spot isn't the worst thing. It could be far worse for him. But I do think he's going to win here. And again, it's better than fucking Brock Lesnar. I honestly thought they would do Bobby and Brock, and I think the match would be great. But I don't want the belt on Brock Lesnar, so Brock Lesnar would win too. So I think Drew's going to win, though I would prefer Bobby Lashley.